Hey there, 6th grade. This is the first video in our next unit of study, which is over perimeter, circumference, and area. In this video, we're going to review a little bit about unit conversions and then talk about the customary and the metric system for units of measure. So I want you to read along with this scenario at the top. In this scenario, it says that to conserve energy and to avoid the heat of the day, lions spend much of their time resting, usually up to 20 hours a day. This means that in 1 year, a lion spends about 7,300 hours resting. How many days in this? So this problem is asking us to convert 7,300 hours to days. And so we've done this before, but I do want to review this with you. We're going to use what's called a unit conversion to find out how many days there are in 7,300 hours. So the first thing you should already know is that there are 24 hours in 1 day. So what our unit conversion looks like, well, it's a ratio. Okay, and remember, a ratio can be written as a fraction. So we can either write the fraction 1 day per 24 hours, because 1 day has 24 hours, or we can write 24 hours per 1 day. And we're going to choose the fraction, whether we put days on top or on the bottom, based on what we're starting with and what we're going to. So we're starting with hours. That's what we know. We know that we have 7,300 hours. If I write that number over 1, and then I multiply by one of my unit conversions, how am I going to cancel out the number of hours? Well, I'm going to cancel out hours if hours is in the denominator of this fraction. Okay, so I'm going to choose this unit conversion here, 1 day over 24 hours, to convert my 7,300 hours to days. Because now when I multiply these two fractions together, I can cancel out the units. Hours in the numerator here and hours in the denominator here will cancel. And so we're left with 7,300 times 1, which is 7,300 days, divided by, in the denominator we have 1 times 24, which is 24. And so this is 7,300 divided by 24, which is approximately 304 days. Okay, so that's a review of how to convert from one unit to another. When we're measuring quantities, we use two different systems of measurement. Okay, one is called the customary system, or you might have called that the English system before, and the other, which you'll more often use in science classes, is the metric system. So the customary system, like I said, is also called the English system, is based on measurements from Old English law. And we are one of the few countries left in the world, the United States, that still uses mostly customary measurements in everyday life. For instance, we don't measure speed on the road in kilometers per hour. We measure our speed limits in miles per hour. We use feet and inches quite often in everyday life when you're trying to go buy lumber at the hardware store or fabric at the craft store. We typically don't use the metric system in those scenarios. The metric system we do use, however, in our science classes, chemistry, physics, biology. That's where the metric system is in use. So as someone that lives in the United States, you need to know both systems. And so here below in this chart, I've given some common basic conversions for both systems. The first row shows you our common units of length or distance. The next shows you the common units that measure volume or capacity, and then the last weight or mass. So the customary system, the basic units are inches, feet, yards, miles for length, the metric system, and we've worked with metrics a little bit before, but just a reminder, you have your millimeters, centimeters, there's also decimeters and decameters in there, meters, kilometers, etc. I didn't put all of them in here, but I've put some of the basics that you should know. For volume, for the customary system, you should know that 8 fluid ounces is equal to 1 cup, 2 cups is equal to 1 pint, 2 pints is equal to 1 quart, and 4 quarts is equal to 1 gallon. Okay, you'll use volume a lot if you're ever cooking. You might have to be able to convert from cups to pints to quarts. And then for the metric system, the prefixes are the same, which is nice. You should know that there are 1,000 milliliters in 1 liter, 100 centiliters in 1 liter, etc. And then for weight and mass, 16 ounces is equal to 1 pound, 2,000 pounds is equal to 1 ton for the customary system. And for the metric system, we use grams to measure mass. So anything in this chart, make sure you're able to convert from one to another. And let's go ahead and go on the back and take a look at some examples now. So example 1 asks you to convert 25 kilometers to meters. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did on the front side. We're going to use a unit conversion to do this. So I'm going to look at what I'm starting with. I'm starting with 25 kilometers. So I'm going to write that as 25 kilometers over 1. And then I'm going to multiply by a unit conversion factor, which is, again, just a fraction, using that chart I had on the front side. So we know we want to get rid of kilometers, so I'm going to put kilometers down here. We're going to meters, so meters needs to go on the top here. And we need to ask ourselves how many meters are in a kilometer. Well, there are 1,000 meters in 1 kilometer. So my problem is 25 times 1,000 over 1. When I multiply here, kilometers will cancel. And so I'm left with 25 times 1,000, which is 25,000 meters, all divided by 1. And so that answer is 25,000 meters. Example 2, how many hours are there in 102 days? So we're going to start with what we were given, 102 days. I'm going to put that over 1, and then I'm going to think about what my unit conversion factor is. I want to get rid of days, so it needs to go in the denominator here. I want to go to hours as my new unit, so it goes here. And so now, this is just the reverse of what we did on the front side. This time, hours is going to go on the top. There are 24 hours in 1 day on the bottom. So now if I multiply here, my units of days will cancel. And so I have 102 times 24, and that comes out to be 2,448. So there are 2,448 hours in 102 days. Okay, example 3. This one says, Selena is selling juice during the intermission of a school play. If she has 6 quarts of juice, how many 1-cup servings of juice can she pour? So in this problem, we're going from quarts to cups. Quarts to cups. And so this is going to be a multi-step problem. Let's start by writing down, again, what we're given. We're given 6 quarts, and I'll put that over 1. So if you look at the chart on the front side of your notes, you'll see that I don't have a unit in that second row, the customary system. I don't have a conversion that goes from quarts to cups. Okay, but I do have a conversion that goes from quarts to pints. I know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So I can start this problem by multiplying my 6 quarts by a unit conversion that goes from quarts to pints. And so I'm going to put quarts in the denominator here and pints in the numerator. And based on that chart, I know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So if I multiply these two fractions here, my quarts are going to cancel here and here. My goal is to get to cups. Well, now that I've canceled out my quarts, now my measurement is in pints. So if my measurement is in pints, then I can use another unit conversion to go from pints to cups. Again, looking at the chart on the front of your paper, you see that there are 2 cups in 1 pint. So I can multiply by a second unit conversion. This time I want to get rid of pints, so it goes in the denominator, and I want to get cups as my unit for my answer. So there are 2 cups in 1 pint, and so my pints here will cancel. And so what I've just done is I've multiplied by 2 separate unit conversions to get from my quarts in my original problem to my answer of cups. So this is going to be 6 times 2 times 2, which is 24, cups, all divided by 1 times 1 times 1. So the answer is 24 cups. All right, if you have any questions over this video, make sure those are written down. And until we see you the next time, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people.